All right, guys, check it out. So it's Herman Young here, aka Demonology. I do all things Dodge when it comes to demon racing. So I love to race the Dodge Demon. My latest project is a Demon 170. So I'm going through it now, trying to fill it out, see what it's all about. And then hopefully I'll be out soon snatching souls. So wow. The first car I ever purchased was a 1970 Dodge Challenger with a 383 in it. And this car blows it away. This car is like a rocket ship compared to the 1970 Dodge Challenger with a 383. Don't get me wrong, the 383 was really loud, and you know, it'll put you back in your seat, but nothing like this. I remember I was coming home from college. I had some of my buddies in the car. We wanted to floor it to go to 100 miles an hour, right? And I mean, we got maybe 110, but the car was shaking like it was gonna come apart, you know. And we were like, ah. Oh, I was so glad to hit. This car, it'll do 110 mile an hour. You won't even realize it. You won't realize you're going that fast. You'll have to look down at the speedometer and say, oh shit. You don't pull your foot out of the accelerator. So it's fast, it's very quick, and it's smooth. When I was a kid, my first memory was breaking my timing chain, coming home and my dad telling me I was gonna have to take auto mechanics to learn how to fix it. So that was my first memory. My first memory with the drag racing where I won a race and made some money on the side, and it was addicting. And I was it just gives you an adrenaline high, almost like you're playing sports again, like you score a touchdown or you win a big game. And I believe drag racing gives you that same rush and that same high, especially if you get paid at the end of it, you know. So I grew up in a little small community in Grand Prairie called Dalworth, and very, very tight-knit community. Everybody knew everybody. Your best friend, you know, you could spend the night at his house, he could spend the night at your house. It's just everybody was all family oriented. We went to school in Arlington. Even though we lived in Grand Prairie, we lived on county line. So they bused us into the school district in Arlington. You know, you didn't have all the gang banging going on. And if you got into a fight with somebody, you were like best friends the next day or something. You know, you would do your chores at home. And if you wanted to go out and play, you would go help your buddies get their chores done. So everybody would go to house so you could get everything finished, and you can go to the park and play football, basketball, go swimming or whatever. So, you know, I had a great childhood. My mom and dad separated when I was at a young age, and my dad was in the Air Force. So he went to go stay in Washington, D.C. He worked in the Pentagon as a staff sergeant. So we would go stay with him during the summer, me and my older brother. And the summers were great. You know, my dad was a blast. We got to eat crabs, and, you know, we stayed at the Pentagon. He had a big office, and I remember it was so cool. He had a literal phone in his car. It didn't have any dials on it, but he could pick up this phone, and, you know, we thought he was like a Get Smart, you know, the spy, you know, with the phone in his shoe. And he would tease us and say, oh yeah, you know, I got a phone in my shoe. He didn't have a phone in his shoe, but he did have the phone in the car. And it was just, I mean, I had a great childhood. Some summers, if we didn't go, or the early part of the summer, we'll go stay with my grandparents. I had grandparents in Grand Prairie. We go stay with them. My grandmother and granddad, they had a garden, and I just loved working in the garden. You know, my grandmother just, you know, she grew up on a farm, and I just loved working in the garden. And then my other grandparents that were in West Virginia, they lived on the side of a mountain. I mean, literally, their house, the house is leveled off, and then it angles down like this. And the train tracks would come, I'm telling you, it's like 10 foot in front of the house. And when the train would come by, all the pictures on the wall would rattle and shake, you know. And my grandfather in West Virginia, my grandfather in Grand Prairie was a pastor. My grandfather in West Virginia was a coal miner. So, they were really hillbillies, and they, cause they, they lived on the hill. But I mean, I just had I had a great childhood. I think a person that affected me the most in my childhood was a football coach by the name of Gary Bearden. And this guy he just took care of all of us kids and followed us through school and made sure we were doing the right thing. Then I had a couple of other mentors, a gentleman by the name of Earl Hogg, who was an Arlington police officer, which, I really, really looked up to him. He was also our youth Sunday school teacher. So he inspired me to eventually go into a career of law enforcement. And then once I retired from that, I opened up a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. I was a defensive tactic instructor. So I learned Jiu-Jitsu years ago, and then I opened up a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school and ran it. And then I started drag racing again after I retired. So I think it's a new adrenaline rush for me. I played sports in school. I boxed a little bit in high school at the Arlington Boys Club. I played football at Henderson State in Arkadelphia, Arkansas, in Navarro and Corsicana. I power lifted. I run a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. I competed in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But the passion you get from drag racing is just, and the people, the camaraderie is so much fun. I mean, you got guys at the drag strip that may freaking hate your guts when it comes to racing. But if they see that you're in distress, everybody tries to come in and help. Now, when you get on that tree, they're going to try to cut your head off, right? But it's just weird, and it's hard to explain, and it just keeps pulling you back. And you keep spending money, and you don't realize how much money you're spending on drag racing. That's, I think, what I love so much about the Dodge Demon, is that you can drag race, and it's such a dependable car. You spend your money up front to buy it, but it's going to hold up on the track, and it'll take the pounding. I think the Demon was special for me because of a promise I made to my 16-year-old self. I was in auto mechanics working on my 70 Challenger with the 383. And I was thinking, I bought that car for $800. And it was in 1980. And I was thinking to myself, man, I wish I would have got a 440 or 426 Hemi. And I was like, why would somebody buy a 383, But that's all I could afford at the time. And I promised myself, I said, if I ever get in a position financially, I want to own the fastest car that Dodge makes. I want the baddest Mopar engine production car on the planet. And when the Hellcat came out, I purchased the Hellcat. And when the Demon came out, I purchased the Demon. The Demon 170 came out, and I have the Demon 170. But to me, the OG Demon is so much better in so many different ways that people just don't understand. The OG Demon came in, and it was a car with 315s all the way around it. And it had this Demon crate that you could get for $1, which who wouldn't get the Demon crate for $1? But this Demon crate had all these little goodies in it. And it just reminded me back to when I was a kid building model cars. Everything was there. You didn't have to go to the auto parts store. You didn't have to, go to the, the local tune shop. They had everything there to make it faster and turn it into a real, true drag variant. Unlock race PCM, smaller front tires, floor jack, impact wrench, small mirror that you can see. Matter of fact, here's the plate for that mirror. I'll put it on this car. So, which I'll be taking that back because I'm restoring my original OG Demon. But it just had so many, from the air pressure gauge to check your tires to a torque wrench to torque your tires, that it just had so many little small things that man, it was like the perfect car. So when I first got the Dodge Demon, it had so many little parts, and I would stay up like a little kid, just reading the manual and reading over it. Oh wow, it'll do this, it'll do that, and it'll do this, and I'm playing and tinkering in my garage and doing all this kind of stuff. My neighbor's coming over and he's helping me. And so I was like, man, this Demon just has so much technology built into it. And eventually I started taking it to the track, and I was so ticked because I couldn't see any videos with people talking about the technology of the Dodge Demon. At that time, people were taking the Demons and they were just putting them away, bubbling them up, as they call it. And it was a guy that I would follow who had a Hellcat, and his channel was called Mission Flower Garage. Mission Flower Garage gave me all the information I needed on the Hellcat. Street Speed 717 was also racing his Hellcat. So I had all the YouTube stuff I wanted with that, but nobody was doing YouTube on the Demon. And I really wanted to know the technology of the Demon. And I was at my jiu-jitsu school, and I was telling my friend that's in the position of a program director, I said, man, nobody's racing these darn Demons. I want to know the technology on it. He said, well, why don't you take your own medicine? I said, well, what's that? He said, well, if you want it done right, then do it yourself. So I said, well, I don't know anything about making YouTube videos. He said, well, go out, make the video, and I'll edit the video. He said, I have some editing skills. So I made the first video, yada, yada, yada. And we said, man, what should we call the channel? And we thought for a while, and I said, you know what? Let's call it Demonology, the technology of the Dodge Demon. I didn't know demonology was a real word. I didn't Google it back then. I didn't look it up. I just thought I came up with something, demonology. So I had been running the channel probably about 6 months or so, and one of my brothers had told my mother that I had this YouTube channel that's called Demonology. And I grew up in a Christian household. My grandfather was a pastor and so forth. We were at church, during their 7 days a week. And I remember coming to my mother's house, and she has these kooky sayings. She said, get your ass in here. You got a bad record and it's playing on every station. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, what are you doing studying demons? Demonology is this. I said, no, Mom, it's just you. She said, that's the study of demons. That's devil worshiping. I had no idea. But anyway, after I calmed her down, I talked to some of my older cousins, her age, and they were like, oh man, when the first demon came out, they couldn't even drive it to church on Sundays, So we went through this whole religious deal. But anyway, I looked it up, and sure enough, demonology is the study of demons. But that's not my channel. It's the technology of the Dodge Demon. I mean, I have several mentors in the racing community. My biggest mentor is a guy by the name of Rod Hetzel. I call him the Cobra Jet Master because Rod races Ford Cobra Jets. And I met this guy at a drag strip called North Star up in Denton, and he saw I was struggling with the first Dodge Demon, with the OG Demon. So what a lot of people don't know is when I got my first OG Demon, the programming was wrong on the car. When I would crank it up, a Hellcat would come up on the display. And I took it to the dealership, and they said, man, we don't know what's going on. They did a ticket on it or whatnot, and the people from Dodge was like, it's no big deal. The car's okay. So all I wanted the car to do was to pop a wheelie, because on the advertisement, my car would never pop a wheelie, right? And so Rod was like, hey, change this, do this, and let me show you my foot braking technique. I was trying to use their version of the trans brake or whatever, launch control. And I remember a guy coming to me and said, whatever you do, don't talk to that old timer over there. He's crazy about this foot braking technique. But Rod is a championship bracket racer, and he wins his races through foot braking. If you tell me don't do something, I'm probably going to, one of them guys, no, I'm going to check this out. I'm going to make my own decision. And so Rod started teaching me his foot braking technique, and I forgot about popping wheelies because I was winning races. And I remember we was at a drag strip one time, and these guys was like, hey, I want to bet you for money and blah, blah, blah. And Rod had got on to me about grudge racing. He says, I don't want to see you out there grudge racing. Don't be betting for money. because it's going, you know, make you lose the enjoyment for racing. So this guy was on and on. Come on, man, let's bet. I said, well, I'm not gonna bet you for money. What are we gonna bet for? So I said, well, you know, it's a Dodge Demon. I guess I'll bet you for your soul. And everybody started laughing, and I beat this guy. And the guy said, oh man, Demonology snatched my soul. And then from there, it just started to be a joke. And we would see guys at the drag strip, and man, I want my soul back. And, you know, and I started teasing them, you know, well, if you want your soul back, you know, you got to bring your Uncle Bubba's soul, you know, and if you lose both of y'all soul, you know, I had to find some place to put it. So I said, well, it's going to be on the altar of Mopar. And then, you know, I start teasing people and saying, once I take their souls, you know, they some zombies. You know, I got a lot of zombies running around here. Where's Chris Bailey? I beat Chris Bailey in a couple of races, not in his fast car, but I beat him in some other cars. So he's one of my zombies. He's looking to get his soul back. This new car he's building, he may have a chance, but you still got to line him up, right? Another one of my race mentors was a guy by the name of Greg Wilborn. This guy, his nickname is Third Degree. He races Mustangs. I keep running into these Mustang people. You know what was so weird to me is that the Dodge people, you know, they talk about this brotherhood, but the Dodge people seem to be really snobby and snooty. You know, like old, gray-haired, stick-in-the-butt dudes. And the Mustang people was cool. Like they would be like, hey man, that's a diva, man. Come on over here and talk and stuff. But the Dodge people, I try to hold a conversation and they'd be short, you know. Yeah, okay, all right. You know, me and him, we just hit it off and we became friends. And I mean, we like brothers, you know. And he helped me out tremendously a lot when it came to drag racing, about lining up the car, reading the track. I mean, I won so many races just because Greg read the track, and we was racing. We were doing so many races that he had like a 3 signals for me, right? If the track was killer, he would do like this. That means cut their head off, you know, smash the bug. That's what Rod Hetzel would say. Foot brake, smash the bug. You know, if the track was iffy, you know, he'll do like this, and that means I'd have to ease into the throttle. You know, if the track was trash, he'd do like that. And I really had to skirt the car. Greg would read the track. He would go walk it, read the track, get me lined up, and he'd give me my signals. And I beat most people in a race by cutting a good light, like Rod Hetzel was telling me. And Greg Wilborn, Third Degree, of Mustang guys, pretty much showed me how to race. You know, I remember Rod was saying, we was with some Mustang guys, and they were saying, what do you call a Dodge guy that's been taught to race by a bunch of Mustang people? And Rod Hetzel said, well, you call him the Soul Snatcher. That's what you call him. And so then I started calling the car the Soul Snatcher, and, you know, snatching people's souls, and we just went on with that. I mean, it's just been a fun journey. It's been a really fun journey. I even got to go up and meet Watson Racing, you know, the owner of Watson Racing, and amazing shop. Mustang people, they took me in, brought me in, showed me all about the Mustangs, and eventually they became the people to assemble the Dodge Drag Pack. I got to go back and, you know, speak with Chuck Watson and all those guys, and it's just a real good family community with Mustangs. The best car that I ever took down a track was a Ford Cobra Jet. I've raced enough, and Rod said, I think it's time for you to get your fat ass in this car. You know, he'd always tease me. You know, he'd say, you know, you can pick up a 10th, right? And I fall for it all the time because, you know, I'm thinking and calculating. I said, okay, what do we need to do? Well, the 10th is in your back pocket. You need to do some pushaways from the table, you know, and he'd always get me with it. So, you know, we'll laugh about it. But eventually he said, I want you to take my Cobra Jet down the track. And man, I tell you what, racing a Demon that's a street variant built to drag race, is so much different from racing a car that's built to drag race and not go on the street. And man, that Cobra Jet took off, front wheels came up, and it was so smooth, the transition. I didn't know when the front wheels came back down on the ground. It was just, because the Demon goes, boom, boom, boom. You jerk right. The Cobra Jet was, you couldn't even feel the front tires touch on the ground, dude. It was beautiful. I've never driven a drag pack. I have friends that have drag packs. None of them have invited me to drive their drag pack. My good buddy Dennis Chasman was a big drag pack guy forever. He's no longer racing drag packs. Lindsey Wheelock, Jeff Turk, the guys at Wesley Motorsports. I mean, I know all of the drag pack guys, but the Ford guys offered me to drive their car. and that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's a difference between the two, man. Don't get me wrong. I love my Mopar and I love my Ford people. I mean, my Dodge people. But for some reason, the Ford guys have embraced me and showed me a lot of love. So the Demon 170, when I first got it, I was pretty impressed with it. It actually ran a 9.2 right off the bat, which is actually pretty fast. The car was slipping in some areas, but what I found was that either the spark plugs were gapped too high and it's blowing out a flame or something. I don't know, but it's almost like it was hitting a limiter. So it took off quick and then it started backing itself down. I think the first time I took it out, I was able to get like a 130 60 foot, and I made some adjustments. And the second time I took it out, I was able to get a 125 60 foot, which is pretty big when it comes to racing. But now I have the car 60 footing and doing what it's supposed to do on the launch. However, it's falling over on its face or it's hitting that limiter, and I think I've solved that problem. So coming up to the 330, the car is stumbling, and which, to me is a disappointment, but it's something that I just got to work through, and I got to figure out what's going on with the car. So far, I've done 0 modifications to the car. I did put in a Diablo controller because when I first got the car, it was just going up way too high. And we know in drag racing, if the energy is going up, you're not going forward fast enough. So Diablo, they do make a controller that is a suspension controller for Hellcats that a lot of people don't know about. To me, the way to go will really be adjustable shocks. But the thing I like about this controller is that you can put the controller on there and it'll tame it down so it's not going up in the air. I'll have a video, where I'll show some passes, and you'll see one where the front end goes up, and then you'll see one where it just takes off. I still feel like it needs to transfer the weight to get the job done. So I took the controller out, and I'm gonna see if we can make some adjustments in the controller. If the controller has some adjustments, I would like to see it adjusted to what's equivalent to the sport suspension. I put the car in sport mode, like a custom tune, everything drag, suspension in sport, and it carried the front tires about a foot off the ground really well. Unfortunately, when you do a custom like that, you no longer get the intercooler as far as the cool air, the air conditioning going into the supercharger. So you lose power at the top end of the track. Fortunately, knock on wood, I haven't had any accidents. At the track, I've had some close calls. I remember I was racing the guy that I called the King of Grudge, Rody Vargas, I believe, and he's with Team R-Tunes. This dude don't miss. This dude in the grudge world, what people don't realize is every race is a championship. You're either gonna win some money or you're gonna lose some money. So you're in the finals every race. And this dude is just killing people. So I made it a point to take my Demon to the drag strip and line up against everything stock. I would beat that, and eventually I started lining up against modded cars. And Rody pulled up next to me in his car. And man, we took off, and that car got up on the back bumper. And I remember Rod Hetzel told me, he said, if you're ever lined up against one of these race cars and they get up on the back bumper, get out of the accelerator and get on the brake. And sure enough, the car started going up. And I remember what Rod said. I got out the accelerator and got on the brake, and he got on one side and came over to my lane, went across the front part of me, and hit the wall. And I was worried about this guy. Man, he jumped out of his car and ran back and was worried about me to make sure that I was okay. You know, are you all right? I was like, no, man, are you all right? You know, so that was a close call. I got to say, these are Mustang cars that almost hit me. My good friend Hunter Holt was in a Mustang, and his car is called Uncle Ben. and Uncle Ben is a fast Mustang, dude. It's way too fast to me to be racing. So he was gonna call himself embarrassing me, and we took off, right? And I always like to say, when I race fast cars, for some reason I get lucky. They either blow their tires or something stupid happens. Well, something stupid happened with Hunter, and I always say I snatched their souls before the race start, and they're no longer able to drive their cars because they're a damn zombie. Well, we took off, and all of a sudden, out the side of my eye, I could see Hunter Holt's car coming over. And so I could either get on my brakes or I could keep with the accelerator. And I've been racing so long, I kind of realized that if I stayed on the accelerator, maybe I could outrun him. And we looked at the 360 camera, and he missed my back bumper by a foot. I mean, he would have pit stopped me and knocked me into the wall, and there, you know, and he apologized and stuff. But I think he took off, and there was something on the track in his lane maybe, but his car slipped and came over and barely missed me there. And then I've seen some crazy stuff to where some guys came out to the track with the big wheels on, the big wheel races, and the guy took off, and the tire come off the damn car and flew over into the side. And then, you know, the track I grew up at, Yellow Belly. If you want to see some wrecks, I think people go to the Yellow Belly drag strip just to see the wrecks, because the track is, I hadn't been there in a while, but it used to be half concrete and half asphalt. And the two different surfaces, it would get away from you. And the prep was not as good as the other tracks you got going. Matter of fact, a lot of people like to go there for no prep. But it's a lot of guys that have smacked that wall at the Yellow Belly drag strip and really torn up their cars. So you got to be careful when you're racing at the Yellow Belly, or at the gut, as we call it, growing up in the hood. So yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of wrecks. One thing that Rod Hetzel and Greg Wilborn taught me early on, and Chris at Bailey's High Performance enforces it as well, is safety first. My good friend Greg, Third Degree, was in his Mustang years ago and had laid his fire jacket in the front seat of the car and had his visor open on his helmet. Went down the track, the fuel tank caught on fire, and the fire is burning him. He opens the door and dives out of the car, slows it down as much as he can. You know, he dives out of the car. Burned up all of his car on the inside, but guess what wasn't burned? Where his jacket was sitting at. So he told me, make sure you wear your safety gear, your gloves, your shoes, your pants, your jacket, your helmet. Rod Hetzel is a stickler to it. Make sure you wear your safety gear. You don't know when the stuff is going to come up and bite you. Big shout out to my sponsor, Holly. Holly has the best safety gear in the game, from Race Quip to Simpson Racing. But I have, Race Quip pants, shoes, Simpson Racing harness to make sure that your head doesn't detach from the body if you hit a wall sideways or straight ahead or too hard. And I wear my gloves. My biggest thing that I'm still trying to fix myself into doing, closing the damn visor. It gets hot in Texas, and you have the visor up and okay, I'm gonna close it. It's gonna be a couple of seconds. I'm gonna go down the track, and you forget to close the visor. But they all say you should wear your head sock and close your visor when you go, because you don't know when danger is gonna happen. So Always gotta prepare. Like Chris Bailey says, safety first. My best race that I ever had. Man, I had a lot of good races that I was not supposed to win. You know, I raced this dude that was a friend of mine, and I lost him as a friend after I beat him in the race. I call him the crybaby. And that's another influencer that's called Kevin Van Voorst. And he accused me of cheating him in the race. And the thing with Kevin is he just cannot cut a light. But anyway, he got on YouTube and said, Demonology, I'm coming to your backyard. He refused to race me, yada, yada, yada. He called me on the phone. I said, look, Kevin, I got to be somewhere Saturday. That event was Saturday. But he just kept going on and on and on and on social media. And you know how the social media crowd goes. So I said, all right. Well, I don't have to be out of town until Saturday morning. So I'm going to roll up on it. And what I found through Rod Hessel is that in third degree, drag racing can be a mental game. You can get in somebody's head. And I told everybody I wasn't coming to the track, and at the last minute, boom, I drove up at the track with the car and the trailer, and everybody was like, oh shit, it's Demonology. I said, I'm here to race Kevin Van Voorst. Go find him and tell him that I'm here to snatch his soul, you know. And so he had Pro Tree written on his car. I had Pro Tree on my car. He had been practicing, whatnot. And a guy came up to us and was like, hey, you guys are going to race for $1,000, blah, blah, blah. I told him, well, no, I can't be here tomorrow for your big race event, but I am going to race him today. One thing that Rod Hessel taught me before I started going down the drag strip was we got to get your reaction time and your 60 foot under control. If anything, go through the 330 and shut it off. But he would tell me, for a fat boy, you leaving too much on the plate, you know? And that was on the time slip until I could cut a good light. He said, now let's worry about, you know, the rest of the track. So Kevin leaves a lot on the plate. Now he has a brother. His brother, David Van Voorst, I consider him a racer, right? David is the one that should have been driving the car. Anyway, we show up to race. We line up. Typical Kevin. He sleeps on the tree. I jump out on him and put the gap on him. Oh man, the gap was so bad, so vicious. He was hot. He was steaming. And it was funny to me because he was so mad that he started accusing people of cheating him. And he said, I told him it was a full tree and the people at the track misled him. And it was but thanks to my good buddy TK from TK Garage, he kept a video on Kevin's car the whole time. I think Kevin had said, somebody from my crew, I don't have a crew. Somebody from my crew went and told him we was racing a full tree, but nobody approached his car. Nobody went to his car. The people at the track didn't tell him that. He was just a sore loser, man. I mean, to me, you really can tell a person's character on wins and loss. You know, people with good character, you beat them and they'll be like, hey man, congratulations. I'll see you next time. People with bad character, they get mad. Instead of getting mad at themselves or correcting the problem, they get mad at you. You know, so that was a funny race to me. That race was a lot of fun. Another race I went to that was a memorable race is me and my brother and third degree, Greg Wilborn. We towed my car all the way up to a race in St. Louis. And at that time, I wasn't running any nitrous on the car. The car was just tuned by Kurt Dusterhall. And I get up there and these guys, you know, they have demons and Hellcats. And so at the driver's meeting, you know, they said, Demonology, you sure come a long way to get your ass whipped. And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, he has a whipper supercharger on his car. He has nitrous on his car and he has boost and juice or something. You know, everybody had something extra than just a regular, you know, tune. And so, you know, they started laughing and stuff at the driver's meeting. And I said, well, you know, I do got one mod, you know. And they said, well, what's that? I said, well, it's the mod that's between the seat and the steering wheel. It's called a driver's mod. And they was like, get out of here with that bullshit. And, you know? And man, we went out and we whooped ass. Greg Wilborn read the track. on everybody. And I think it was a Spanking Time car. It was a Alex Pike's car. Man, and I forget the other car, Tim Barth's car. Man, it was all these top tuners, right? And Greg would read the track, and we just beat him because we read the track. The cars were faster, but my reaction time was quicker, my 60-foot was quicker, and they ran out of track. And we made a really, really good video on it. And at the end of that event, they came to me because they had a all demon group that was racing. And they said, well, you got to race this all demon group, Demonology. You don't just win like that. And so, I played the old school trick. I'm always hanging around the bracket races. So this old guy was there with his son, and I made sure to say loud enough with my brother, telling my brother, but I wanted them to hear. I said, man, that guy don't stand a chance in the world. He can't cut a light to save his soul. We got this, And so his son ran over to him and said, Dad, you gotta cut a good light. He's right. Demonology has been killing everybody on the tree. We get up there and the dude red lights. The dude red lit. My car actually spun, right? He red lit. I cruised down the track behind him, and whoa, he won. He came back around. He thought he was the winner. Everybody was congrats. He didn't understand that if you take off too fast and you red light, you lose the race. So the track people was telling him, no, you lost the race. And he was like, what do you mean I lost the race? I beat him. And they said, no, sir, you red lit. You took off too fast. You disqualified. And that's what Rod always said. Try your best not to red light, because your race is over right there before it starts. If you can get down the track without red lighting, you still have a chance to, drive by somebody. But that was a great event. I beat all those tuners. To me, the tuners are really racing. I beat all those guys with their top cars, and I beat this guy because he red lit. So that was some fun and memorable races to me. But I've raced a lot of supercars. They're not as super as I thought on the drag strip. When it comes to a Dodge Demon, I raced a Porsche 911 Turbo S that Demon all stopped out the box and just beat the brakes off of it. Lamborghinis, man, I mean, you name them. All those cars, I've raced them, and I beat them. So, I got a lot of souls on the altar, Mopar. It's a lot of zombies walking around. So, the best advice that I can tell somebody if they want to be an influencer in race is to document, video, and be able to put together a presentation to tell them, I want to partner with you to help you sell your product. This is my value. This is my worth. These are my numbers. Here's my analytics. And this is what I can do for your company. And then you let them make the decision if they want to work with you or if they don't want to work with you. If they choose not to work with you, don't hate the company. You never know. They may come back around next year and look at you again and say, hey, I want to work with this guy. The first company I ever worked with or that ever sponsored me was Mickey Thompson. Mickey Thompson, and I asked him when they approached me, the representative is a gentleman by the name of Willie Woo, really nice guy. And I said, man, I'm just a small channel. Why would you call me? He said, man, we really like what you're doing and we feel like that you're going to be big. And he said, we rather partner with you now so you'll have loyalty to us when you become bigger. And a lot of people are going to come to you after you become. I mean, he was absolutely right. I had the opportunity to go with other tire manufacturers, but man, what he told me, rung true. Not only did Mickey Thompson has the best part, but they rolled the dice on me to help me market their product when I was just starting out. And I'll always be a Mickey Thompson guy unless they change up the compound and the tire goes to crap, which I just don't see that happening. But that was my very first sponsor. I've tried to get sponsorship from some other people, and at the time they was like, no. And then later on, they contacted me, or I reached back out, and they were like, yes. So don't take it personal if somebody says no. Know your worth, know your value, and don't you be afraid to tell a company no, which I have done several times before. And I drive away or walk away saying, man, I hope I made the right decision, but I know my worth and I know my value. And, you know, if a company wants to work with me, or if they want to work with you, they will invest in you because you're going to invest in them. So there you have it. Okay. So, you know, one thing that I want to talk about is, tuners. My current tuner is the Wayne Biddle from Biddle Motorsports. I think when it comes to racing, it's really the guy behind the keyboards that's doing his thing. I feel like Dwayne Biddle is the best Holly tuner, and that's what I run on this car, Holly. I run the Dominator on this car. And the deal that makes Dwayne such a deadly threat is not only does he tune, he also races. So he knows what you're going through and how to get that car set up and not waste time. And he's very, very efficient. So if he tells you to do something and he changes a tune, then he does it for a certain reason. And you just gotta have trust in your tuners. Another tuner that I had early on in the stage games with the Dodge and the Mopar was Kurt Dusterhoff. And this guy did me a great job. He you know, I talked to Kurt and I said, look, I need 3 tunes. I need a tune for good prep, medium prep, and bad prep. And he gave me all 3 of those tunes, and I was able to learn how to navigate different tracks. And it's interesting, the current Demon 170 is set up where you can actually make your own tunes in there, A, D, and C. And that's what I was using when I was with Kurt Dusterhoff. Right now, I currently feel like the best guy that tunes Mopars, the Hellcat platform, is a guy named Zedong Ho. Z Tunes is an amazing tuner. This guy, how could I say, not only does he races, he studies, he knows what he's doing, and he's going to figure it out first before he puts it in your car. He's not going to make your car the experimental car. He has his own car that he practiced with. He works with Bailey's Hot Performance. Chris Bailey has a bunch of fast cars, but they had to go through some trials and tribulations to make those cars fast. And they learned what to do and what not to do. So when customers come in, the customers can get the what to do. They're not doing research and development on your car. They've already done it on their car. And that's what I love about Z-Tunes. I don't care who you are. If you have a tuner and things start going bad, let it go. You just need to stop what you're doing, leave admirably, and find you another tuner out there. And you need one that you mesh with and you can talk to. And, you know, y'all got to have chemistry. If you don't have chemistry, walk away. Find a tuner that you have chemistry with. Okay, guys, let's talk about some of my sponsors. My number one sponsor, guys, is Mickey Thompson. That's my first sponsor, and it's always going to be my number one sponsor. True and dear to my heart. Sticky Mickey is in the house. Next, Holly Performance. Dude, Holly does it. Everything in the house, Holly Performance. They have a plethora of products. You know, I forget sometimes, and I have people call me, hey, Demonology, run my part on the car. Just check it out, send it to me. So, you know, this is what I do. They send me a part, I run it. If I like it, then I'll make a video about it and I'll talk about it. If I don't like it, I patch it up and send it back. I don't say, this product was crap. You know, I send it back and say, hey, these are some changes, you know, that you could probably make. And then you can go from there. One of my sponsors, Boostane, they send me some fuel. A lot of people don't know this, but I used to mix Boostane additive into my regular gasoline to get race fuel for my old school Demon, my OG Demon, because race fuel costs too much money. And I was winning races with the Boostane. Then Boostane, we just partnered up and they made a new fuel that's E85, and we ran it on the dyno and was so impressed how much horsepower it picked up. I mean, I want to say it almost picked up 50 plus horsepower on the dyno. you know, E85, and that's something I've been working. They sent me a can of it earlier. I sent it back. They made some revisions and sent it, and this time I love it. Wesley Motorsports, they do the suspension, fuel injector clinic. That's the injectors that I run. People keep asking me. I run fuel injector clinics. Why? Because they data match their injectors. The wheels you see on here are RC components. Wheels are made in the good old USA. I've been to the plant, walked around, and we had a great time at RC Component. Optimal batteries, fellers, Cheetah, 1-ethanol is the fuel that I run on this car. Anderson Composites is the carbon fiber pieces that I put on my Challenger. Safety, Lifeline, and this fire suppression system is the best, period. This stuff sends out a mist that pulls the oxygen out of the air that would keep that fire off your booty. So I love this. Vibrant Performance. A lot of my hoses and stuff come from Vibrant and come from Flow Supply. I have a combination from Vibrant and from Flow Supply. Optic Armor. A lot of guys say, oh, I want to put this Optic Armor for lightweight on my windshield. No, Optic Armor is for safety. Is it a little bit lighter than glass windshield? Yes, but the main thing is for safety. Optic Armor. Rossler Transmissions. There is none better. If it was, I would have told you so. Rossler Transmission is the transmission of choice. For me, if I'm not using the stock transmission, Carl Rossler is the man. That's where the racers are at. Neil Chance converter. That's the only converter that I use in my race car. Like this particular car is Neil Chance converter. A lot of people don't know this, but Neil Chance, their company makes their converter. They don't send it out to get it made from somewhere else, someone else. And I bet you they probably make it other people converters. Dude, these dudes right here, these dudes are like drug dealers, man. I'm gonna tell y'all, don't mess with these dudes, because they're gonna get you hooked. Nitrous outlet. This is horsepower in a bottle. You want 50 more horsepower? Go see Nitrous outlet. They're gonna be like, yeah, man, we got you with 50 more horsepower. Then you're gonna be coming back. Hey, man, y'all got any more of that nitrous up in there? Because they're gonna make you into a nitrous fiend. Dude, horsepower in a bottle. You wanna go 100 more horsepower? Nitrous outlet. 250 more horsepower? Nitrous outlet. You got to build your engine for it, but Nitrous Outlet will give you horsepower in a bottle. The thing I love about them is that they have systems specifically made for your car. Love these guys. Cone Performance. Those are the guys that have ported my blowers and stuff for me. So I deal with Cone Performance right now for blower porting. Precision Performance Productions. That's my shifter, guys. Love these guys. AAA, the African American Racing Association. Love these guys. Always putting good stuff. ZAMP. That's my old helmet sponsor. I got them on there. Cleveland Power Performance, guys. They down here on the bottom. They covered up. Man, let me explain something to y'all. When you own eBay and you see a Hellcat engine for order right now is the place I'm at, Bailey's Hot Performance. Come on, man, it's the shop of all shops. If you're doing things Mopar, you gotta go to where the world's fastest Mopars are, and that's at Bailey's Hot Performance, man. I just don't know what else to tell you. I have people that call me Demonology. They're all the way in Texas, and then put the car on a transport it up here. Bailey's Hot Performance will work on the car. They will do you good quality work. They will ship your car back to you, and your car be running good. So I have a close friend here locally, and I begged him to bring his car to Bailey's Hot Performance. He got a cheaper deal, and when I say cheaper, it was maybe 10% cheaper, but he got a cheaper deal, and I can understand people saving money, but that cheaper deal has cost him so much more. his engine was destroyed. He tore up something else, and because they set it up wrong, and then he was embarrassed, didn't want to tuck his tail and come to the Baileys, and he went somewhere else. And guess what happened at the other place? Same thing. They ran through him. They ran through his pockets. How much you got? Several of my friends I begged to come here. One of my friends finally showed up, took my advice, and hey Chris, what did Jonathan run at the track the other day? 8.5, no nitrous. 8.5. Look, man, I literally begged my partner, man, look, I wouldn't be there if they wasn't fast. Plus, if I'm there, I can tell you what's happening, right? If I left another shop and I'm no longer there, I'm not going to say nothing bad about the other shop, but I can't tell you what's going on. But I can tell you what's happening now at this shop, and this shop is doing good quality work. King Wheel and Tire, man, my heart is with King Wheel and Tire. King Wheel and Tire, they have like 7 locations around the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. If you need to get some tires put on your car, if you need an alignment done on your car, find your King Wheel and Tire. My King Wheel and Tire choice is the one in Mansfield. Big shout out to Matt, the overseer, the head guy, the big honcho over at King Wheel and Tire in Mansfield. Man, it's just a family operation, man. Everybody there are good guys. I love hanging out there. I love getting my tires and stuff done there. And they actually are close to my heart because they sponsored the first big showdown, Dunk Master versus Demonology. So big shout out to King Wheel and Tire. One of my sponsors that I want to talk about is Whipple. Whipple superchargers will make your car go extremely fast. I'm slowly being pulled to the turbo side, but because of Whipple, I'm staying on the Whipple side. I do have a secret car that I'm working on that has something totally different from turbos and Whipples, but we'll have to talk about that later when I get it out on the track and start running it. But right now, Whipple has allowed me to stay ahead of all the turbos that I've been running. And we're going to see, because a lot of guys have been putting more turbos on their cars, and I'm going to see how that's going to work out for me. But right now, I'm a Whipple man. Big shout out to Whipple Superchargers. I love it because you don't have to do much to the car. You put the Whipple Supercharger on there, and it works flawlessly, just like the original supercharger that was already on your Hellcat. The Whipple Supercharger doesn't need extra pipes, extra molding, or nothing. It's plug and play, and you're out racing the next day. Obviously, you got to get it tuned, but it is a beast on the track. And so far, I've been able to hold off all turbos that I have raced with my Whipple Supercharger. So we'll see how that's going to work out for me in the future, guys. Peace. Chris, why you up here smiling? Why you up here smiling? He up here giving me that sinister look. He trying to get his soul back because he got some turbos somewhere. He said, I don't want none of that, but I want it all. I want all the smoke. You still got to line it up to get down the track. I got my Whipple and I got my booty juice from the nitrous. Because when I'm in front of them, they all gonna eat it from the back.